Bruce Sanders. I'm a chaplain with the Thurston County Sheriff's Office and one of the leaders of C.A.P.S, Chaplains Association for Public Safety. Our goal is to serve those who serve us.
Our public safety officers, whether in fire and rescue or law enforcement, are the first to respond when tragedy strikes. Medical emergencies, trauma, fire, and violent crimes subject our public safety personnel to enormous strain and often danger. Thurston County Sheriff Deputy Andrea learned that lesson the hard way when what appeared to be a routine call turned abruptly violent.
I was sent a call to check on an elderly woman. Her neighbor had noticed that there was a man there and she believed the man had had a knife and was scaring her friend. I arrived there, unbeknownst to me, the male that the caller had been speaking of was there tormenting this elderly woman. And within a matter of seconds of being on scene and making contact, that male suspect charged at me with a fixed blade knife. And he was able to stab me in the neck, and I was able to respond using force with my firearm. I realized I was bleeding profusely from my neck. I could hear the sirens coming for me, and I remember thinking, this could be it. That was probably when I realized I could die. I was thinking about my mom. I'll tell you right now, you don't think about money, you don't think about things, you think about your family and you think about the people you love.
You went through such a traumatic event in that evening, and for you to have come out of that, everybody I talked to was just saying it's an absolute miracle.
My surgeon at the time, he just stood back and he looked at me and he goes, "Man, you had a will to live."
And not to try to make this more than what it is, but I mean, it was like open heart surgery, really. So Andrea, how did the chaplaincy program itself help you in your particular incident that night?
Just knowing you have that outlet, you text me, you called me, you came to my house. My mom, I think, knew if she needed anything, she could contact you. My friends, you're somebody law enforcement trusts. Just somebody to talk to, because I think sometimes as law enforcement officers, we close ourselves off and we teach ourselves that this is just the way it is.
The stresses for both police officers, sheriff's deputies, firefighters, they're extreme right now. It can be just a trusted voice to speak to that is not part of their supervisory staff or their chain of command. Typically they hold these things in, they hold the traumas in that they see, and in many cases they can't go home and share it because it's too gruesome, too ugly sometimes.
I think chaplains provide such a unique type of support. Our members, if we look at the average calls we go on here in the fire service, our average time on task is somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. And many times the lingering emotional needs and practical needs of families when they go out on responses can last hours and even days. And so the ability of chaplains to really focus on those elements that our responders just can't spare the time for or not equipped for appropriately is a tremendous asset.
My name's Mary Ellen Ward, and almost 3 years ago, love of my life passed away from cancer. Rick was an amazing person. I am blessed to have been loved so much. He knew better than I did how fast he was declining, but because of his good care, he didn't seem that bad. So we got up in the morning and he needed help. I think the Lord blessed me that a girlfriend returned my phone call right then, and I missed the moment of his hardest distress when he passed. And so Chaplain Bill came and he started asking me questions about Rick and how did we take such good care of him through the cancer. And the funeral people came to pick up the body, and I got to say goodbye for a moment alone, but Bill said, "Come on, let's go take a walk or something." I had been in a church that turned abusive when I was younger, and I hadn't found a church home. I'd been busy with school. I didn't have very many people around. And here was somebody that just could relate to me and just take me right where I was at. But he was also a guide of all these things that I didn't know. And we've stayed connected ever since.
I'm fortunate enough, if you will, to have a chaplain respond to our location at any time of the day to be able to assist those in need at the time of despair and comfort them more so than what a law enforcement deputy or officer can do for them at that time. So I feel very blessed to be able to have the chaplaincy program be part of the Thurston County Sheriff's Office.
I think it's important to know how well the Chaplain Corps that I'm aware of here in our county does at adapting to the needs of every individual, regardless of race, creed, religious background. I've seen it play out over and over again that even those who might initially be uncomfortable with the title of chaplain, they do such a beautiful job of adapting in the moment to those needs.
We typically are getting called out when there has been a death in the field. And what we do is we meet up with the firefighters that are on scene, who, by the way, are just incredibly gracious and kind to the folks that they are serving. And then we allow them to leave the scene, get themselves cleaned up, and get back in service and available for the next call. We then stay with the survivors there on scene and help them through that initial grieving process.
People often ask me, where do chaplains come from? Where do they originate? And there's really historically two sources. We get chaplains from the pastoral ministry, people who serve churches that have extra room in their schedule or heart for those that are first responders and want to serve in that way. We also see those rising up through the ranks of the first responders themselves, who often retire and become chaplains. And that's where Thurston County is blessed to have a cadre of those that want to serve from those arenas.
The hardest part about recovery is all the guilt I felt that my guys showed up on scene and they felt all this pressure to keep me alive. And to know that they have somebody to talk to when they are struggling or when one of their friends is in the hospital and not able to pull through, to know that you're there, it made me feel comfort to know that you were there for them.
This is Lion. I don't have a picture of Rick at the moment, but this is the color of his hair. He would get cold real easy. He'd lost a lot of weight, and he'd put this hat on. This is what he would wear to keep warm in his rocking chair. It kept his hands and his head warm, and then he would laugh. I hope that everybody that's hearing this will support the chaplains. They fill a gap that's not filled by anyone else. They touch on so many things that are filled by other people, but not all of us have those other people in our lives.
We love our community and those who serve, regardless of race, identity, or religion. The Chaplains of C.A.P.S. Thurston County are a vital support to our first responders, as well as our neighbors in the hour of greatest need. Your help is vital. Thank you for your continued support of C.A.P.S. Thurston County.